W
T L.
It's time! W
T L.
I think we got a show. Oh yeah, we got a show.
W
T L.
And welcome back to WTL, everybody. Where's the Line? Nebraska's first and only sports betting show. I'm your host, Andy Klassen, joined by
Jabron.
Parlay Pounder.
You got it. You got it.
How about Skyler there? Skyler
Yeah, that was
herself
awesome.
there, talking a little NHL, a little UFC. And now we got to talk about the road to Omaha.
Let's do it.
The field has been set. The 64 teams have been selected.
Yep.
And we got to talk some of the front runners, some of the teams that we've talked about a few episodes ago. And when you know it, they have made it. Oh boy, the SEC is really flexing right now.
Oh, yes, sir.
Not only do they have the most teams in by a wide margin, they also are hosting the most regionals. And
Yeah.
that's where we're going to start down in Baton Rouge, the Baton Rouge Regional, with LSU, the number 5 overall seed, hosting. But I'll tell you what, Oregon State's sitting there at 2. Sam Houston, another really good team out of Texas, the 3 seed. And one of my favorites and America's favorite, let's stick with it, the Green Wave. I think they're like 20 games under 500.
They are.
Cinderella story, if there ever was one. They made it, but their landing spot is in Baton Rouge to square off with the Tigers.
Yeah, Andy. And this is just, the LSU Tigers will host a regional in Baton Rouge. They're plus 800 right now at DraftKings to take down the whole tournament, which I think is a very good future play for anybody out there that's already looking that far. You can tell how bad the books think that they're going to win this one. They're opening up at a minus 550 to win their opening round matchup against the Tulane Green Wave. So this is likely going to happen, but they're only at a minus 150 right now, Andy, to win this Super Regional on DraftKings right now. So I believe that this is really a good play right now at minus 150. LSU is going to take this down. Oregon State is a little inflated right now.
Yeah.
They're living off their name from a couple years ago. But LSU in Baton Rouge, this is too easy for the Tigers. They're making it back to Omaha. You're going to see a lot of purple and yellow in Omaha here in the next couple weeks. And I really like them to take down the tournament. That's my best future play right now.
No kidding. Over the Memorial Day weekend, thanks to all the veterans and all that good stuff. We truly do appreciate it. I was out on a lake just outside of Omaha, and I already saw LSU flags waving.
For sure.
No kidding. They've already made their way to the Omaha metro area. And Tulane, 19-40 overall record, 8-16 in their own conference, but they somehow turned it on when they needed to.
Yeah.
But you got to feel like that's going to run out, and LSU's probably going to hand them their medicine.
Exactly, Andy. And the only reason I forgot to say this about Oregon State, they travel farther than any other team in any other regional. They're traveling over 2,500 miles to get to Baton Rouge, one of the furthest trips in college baseball to go to a regional. So I just really think it's going to catch up with them. And LSU is sitting pretty at home with the best fans in baseball sitting there in Baton Rouge.
All right, so I know where else you want to go, and that's talking about a couple more powerhouse names here. Yeah. And that's the Coral Gables Regional.
Yes.
Where you got the number 9 overall seed in the Miami Hurricanes at the 1 seed, obviously hosting, but Texas sitting there at 2. We got to talk Big 12 baseball. And Texas, man, they were on a tear. They were on fire to close out the season, only to lose the Big 12 and went 0-2.
Yeah.
They lost 2 games there, and then the voters thought, you know what, you don't get a host. And that was after the coach and everybody else came out and said, I think we got another regional under our belt. Not so fast.
Not so fast. And like you said, Andy, this is going to be a very good regional, and it's to be filled with low-scoring pitcher duels among, a few strong teams, like you said. Yeah. But Miami right now has the best, they're the front runners because they're hosting at a minus 115. But I believe this Texas plus 190 to take down this regional is probably one of the best values in the regionals right now, just because I believe they are the best team in this regional. Texas, like you said, likely missed out on hosting a regional, like you said, from an early exit of the conference tournament. Unlike last year's Longhorn team, they made a run to Omaha. This year's Texas team lacking in batting, Andy. Last year we were talking about Texas entire way
Bombers.
About how good they were on the offensive side. This is a totally different Texas team. They rely on their pitching, and they keep it low. Like I said, I really like Texas's chance to take down this regional. Miami, it's going to be a tough out, but I believe Miami flexed their muscles en route to a little, of an ACC runner-up, but I believe the Canes have one of the weaker resumes when it comes to among the number one seeds in the regionals.
Oh, okay. So you're going horns up on this one.
Horns up.
Horns up.
As bad as it pains me.
And whoever advances out of this, I mean, then now they're gonna have to square off with the regional that features Stanford, Texas A&M,
Yes,
Cal
sir.
State, Florida, Fullerton, all teams that we see in Omaha all the time. And guess what? They can't all make it. Only
can't
8
all
make
make
it.
it.
So
You're
it's
right.
not an easy road.
It's not.
For Texas, no matter which way you slice it, even if they do get out of this regional.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk a little Big Ten baseball?
Let's talk about the Big Ten, Andy.
A little Big Ten baseball, and we got to tip our cap to the Hawkeyes.
Mm-hmm.
But give them their due. I mean, they've won 40 games. We said it a week ago. But we're talking about the Indiana State, the Sycamores.
Yeah.
They are hosting, and Iowa gets to go over there. I mean, and it's not going to be a pushover. Obviously, Indiana State had a phenomenal season. They're hosting a regional here, but Iowa with that 2 seed, I like where they're at. North Carolina's sitting at the 3, and I think that's who everyone's kind of looking
For
at,
sure.
like thinking the Tar Heels are going to clean up and probably advance out of this regional. Is that how you see it?
Well, that is the way that it's shaking out according to the odds, Andy. You got North Carolina, UNC sitting there at plus 150 right now to take down this, this regional. And then you got Iowa as the second favorite at plus 225, and then the host, Indiana State, at plus 235. It's fun when you get a team like this to host a regional, just because, Andy, everybody's betting against them, but they are the home team here.
Yeah.
You are having North Carolina come in and Iowa come in, and those two teams have to face off each other first. So I really like Indiana State for the value play right now at the plus 235 to take down this regional.
Rick Heller had a great quote, and he goes, "We took it out of the voters' hands, and we knew we would have to do that at Iowa. Win 40 games, do all this stuff. It doesn't matter. The Big Ten is usually a 1, 2, maybe a 3 bid team.
It is.
And no one's looking at the Hawkeyes, so they had to go out there, take care of business in the conference tournament. Even though they had a great season, it didn't matter, and they did it. They took care of business. They're hot, and they didn't have to travel too far either. You just talked about how Oregon State had to travel all the way down to Florida. That's not the case here for the Hawkeyes.
No. And like you do have to give it up to the Hawkeyes right here, Andy, because there is a very good value play at plus 225 here. And the Hawkeyes,
plus money.
Their roster is terrific. Pitching staff, Andy, led by 3 rock-solid starters. So this is how you win college baseball, especially in the regional era, is have those starters go late into games and be able to be available for that last game as well. So that Iowa rotation counters a poor hitting Indiana State team. North Carolina will be without an all-conference outfielder, Vance Honeycutt, which could be a very, very bad thing for UNC. So, like you said, I do not like the North Carolina plus 150. If you're on the Hawkeyes, go with the Hawkeyes. I do like the pitching staff, but Indiana State at home, I think they're going to be jazzed up a little bit. So give me the Sycamores.
The Sycamores
to take down this regional.
The Fighting Larry Birds. You can't talk about Indiana State without talking about at least one
agree.
Larry Bird reference.
Larry Legend.
And give me the Hawkeyes, because I've noticed during the regular season and even postseason play, a team with a really good pitching staff, they usually win the games.
Yeah.
And I like Iowa's pitching. I really do.
And just a little nugget for you, Andy. The Sycamores are 2-9 against top 50 opponents this season. So they have not played when they do play the best, they seem to succumb to it. So, but they usually don't play those guys at home.
Yep, exactly. You're exactly right. They're on the road when they have to play against Big Ten teams, ACC teams of that nature. And all those teams have to go down south early on and usually get beat up in a couple tournaments early in the season. Let's talk about another Big Ten team that I've been watching all season long. I know you have, been a Maryland Terrapins fan. We have family out there and all that good stuff. They're the 2 seed in the Winston-Salem Regional, but it's going to be tough sledding for the Terrapins because they're up against the number 1 overall seed, Wake Forest, catching so much publicity. Usually there's some back talk saying, they don't deserve that number 1 seed. It's actually a consensus. Even all the SEC people I've been listening to say, no, Wake Forest is for real. They probably deserve that. We talking about pitching,
Yeah.
Wake Forest might have the best pitching staff in the entire field of 64.
No doubt, Andy. And to take down a regional and you're sitting there at minus 235 odds, that's pretty much that's as much of a lock as you can get as far as a book goes. They don't like putting odds like out this, for a regional because they want people to bet on it. But this is telling people, do not bet Wake Forest. Go on these other guys because they have no shot at winning. Like you said, Maryland had a huge season, really fun team to watch.
Yeah, up and down,
Took down our Huskers in Omaha.
Yep.
I was at the game. I do believe the Huskers got shafted a little bit, but that's neither here or there. Like you said, the pitching core for Wake stands on a tier of its own, Andy. And 4 of the 5 starters post an ERA under 3.
That's disgusting. Why? Why?
So if these guys get into a dogfight, they can throw starter after starter after starter.
Yeah.
And you saw with the Maryland Terrapins, they really struggle in the back end of games. They have really good starters, but the bullpen is very, very thin for them. So Wake Forest is going to come in. They're going to smack these guys. It's a lock for the Demon Deacons in this regional.
Unfortunately, I have to agree with you on that. I think the Terrapins are going to have a tough time. Northeastern, George Mason's going to get blown out by Wake Forest. They just can't stack up. But Maryland, they do have the bats. We remember that late season where Nebraska and Maryland were just going back and forth. Nebraska won a big game, hit a lot of bombs, but they got in that bullpen, and it was just like dinger after dinger.
Yeah, no doubt.
So you can see Maryland can be
They're
hot,
hot,
but then they turned it around and they scored like 19 runs or something crazy like that in the next game of that series.
No,
so
exactly.
Maryland has the offense. I just think Wake Forest has too much pitching.
They have too much pitching, but to go along with your point, Andy, the Demon Deacons kind of got a bad draw here as the first overall seed in the tournament. They drew 2 conference champions with Maryland in the Big Ten and Northeastern in the Colonial Division. So both of whom rank respectfully in RPI. So I do believe that the Demon Deacons take this down, but it is very, very good competition for the number 1 overall seed in the tournament.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you. Now, you don't have any futures or parlays you're looking at yet. You want to let these regionals play out?
You got to let it play out a little bit. But like I said, it is, if I had to go with a future, it's the LSU Tigers.
Okay.
They love Omaha. It's about time for another national championship, and that's sitting at plus 800 on DraftKings and other books right now. So go smack that right now if you're with me. Go Tigers in Omaha. I can't wait to see it.
Who's fading Gibran? Nobody
could.
Well, how about do it for us this week, folks? Be sure to follow us on ESPN Tri-City Radio's their Facebook account, Twitter. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's been a lot of fun watching that channel kind of grow and evolve. We're having a lot of fun with those shorts.
Yep.
And, of course, if you want those daily free picks, look us up on TikTok.
Yes.
For Gibran, the Parlay Pounder, huge shout out and thanks goes out to Skylar herself for joining us, talking a little UFC and NHL.
No doubt.
Stanley Cup Finals. My name's Andy Klassen. Thank you for listening. This has been WTL.